All right, let's talk about dating. There are a few moments that are just universally tense. And one of the biggest has to be when the bill arrives. But what if there was an actual rule book for that? Well, today we're going to break down one author's very specific, very tactical guide for handling the money and the power dynamics at every single stage of a relationship. So let's just dive right in.
I mean, you know the exact moment I'm talking about. The date's been going great, you're having a good time, the conversation is flowing, and then boom, this little piece of paper lands on the table. And suddenly there's this silent, kind of awkward tension. We've all been there. So, what's the right move here? Who's supposed to pay? Well, according to the author we're breaking down today, there are actually very clear rules for this. And this isn't just, a bunch of opinions. It's a structured, almost tactical guide that's designed to literally remove all the guesswork from the money side of dating.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning, the first date. Now, according to this framework, this is actually the easiest part. The rules here are super clear, they're direct, and honestly, there's not a lot of room for debate. So let's get right back to that big question. The server's walking over, the bill is in their hand, what do you do?
The author's answer is completely unambiguous. You pay. That's it. Every single time. No hesitation, you don't offer to split it, none of that awkward wallet dance, you just handle it.
Okay, so you might be thinking, why? What's the reasoning behind such a hard and fast rule? Well, the author lays out three key reasons. First, the person who invites is the person who pays. And the argument is that you should always be the one inviting her on that first date. Second, since you picked the spot, you're the one in control of the cost. And third, the author basically argues that taking care of the bill is just the more masculine role to play in this first meeting.
But listen, the advice for the first date goes way beyond just who pays the bill. It's actually built around this core idea the author calls the HSEL principle. And this is a framework that's not just about talking, it's about creating a real, genuine connection right from the get-go.
So what in the world does HSEL stand for? Well, let's break it down. H is for hug, a quick, warm hug the moment you meet. S is for sit next to her, not across a table like some kind of job interview. E is for eye contact. You gotta make it solid and consistent. And L is for listen. And I mean really listen, not just waiting for your turn to talk, but to actually understand the why behind what she's passionate about.
All right, so let's say you've made it past that first date. Now you're in what the author calls the dating phase. And this is where that simple you always pay rule starts to change. It gets a little more conditional.
The main idea here is still the inviter pays. That principle holds strong. But now it can go both ways. So if you invite her out to a concert, you're expected to pay. But if she invites you to go see a movie, she's expected to pay. The absolute key here, though, according to the author, is making sure this is all crystal clear before you even go out. And the author doesn't just leave you hanging. They actually give you a specific, kind of playful line to use to set this expectation. So if she invites you out, the suggested response is something like, "That's awesome. It'll be refreshing to leave my wallet at home for once and just let you show me how much you love me." It's pretty direct, right? A little cheeky maybe, but it leaves no doubt about the expectation. Okay, so that brings us to the third and final stage, the long-term relationship, or LTR. And this is where the author says things take a really big turn. The focus completely shifts away from the nitty-gritty of who pays for dinner and moves toward much deeper, more fundamental principles. Yeah, the fundamental idea here is simple. If you're in a serious, committed relationship and you're still keeping score about who paid for what, you're already losing the game. The focus has to move away from these little transactions and onto the real dynamics of the relationship. So if it's not about the money, what is it about? Well, according to the author, your goal is to maximize 5 key things. You want her to see you as the lover, not just the provider. That means you need to maximize her genuine desire and attraction, maximize her respect for you, maximize your control of the relationship's frame, we'll get to that, and maximize her passion for you. The point is, if those things are missing, money is just a really bad substitute. Okay, let's unpack that term I just mentioned, frame control. What does that actually mean? Well, in simple terms, it's the idea that she is living in your world, not you and hers. The relationship operates on your terms according to your values. And how do you maintain that? By setting clear boundaries and this is the big one, being genuinely willing to walk away if those boundaries are constantly being crossed. Here's another core formula from the author for keeping that spark alive long term. It's simple. Passion equals attraction plus obstacles. The thinking here is that just being together all the time with no challenges can actually kill passion, even if you're still attracted to each other.
You need to have some healthy distance sometimes, or shared obstacles to overcome to really keep that fire going. So we've got the rules for each stage, right? The first date, the dating phase, the LTR. But the author is really clear that this is not some rigid one-size-fits-all system. There's a final layer here, and it's all about customizing these rules and adding your own personal context.
And it really boils down to two main questions you have to ask. First, who is she? A woman from Norway is going to have completely different cultural expectations than a woman from Pakistan, right? And the second question is, who are you? A college student barely scraping by is in a very different financial reality than a hedge fund manager. Your own culture, your beliefs, your goals, all of that has to play a part in how you use this framework.
All right, let's wrap this all up and put it together. We've walked through the 3 distinct stages and that all-important customization layer. So here is a final summary of the entire framework we've been talking about.
So this table gives you the whole guide in one quick snapshot. You can see for the first date, the rule is super simple. You pay. Customization, minimal. Then you move into the dating phase, where the rule shifts to the inviter pays. Here, you've got a moderate level of customization. And finally, you hit the long-term relationship. The rule isn't about money anymore, it's about principles over money. And the author's take is that if you're following those principles, you actually need very little customization.
So, there you have it. That's one author's incredibly detailed, tactical guide to handling money and relationships. And it leaves us with a pretty big question, one that's really for you to answer. Is this a useful roadmap for building stronger connections in the modern world? Or is it just a relic of a time that's long gone? Something to think about.